What's up YouTube, it's your boy JP's on the keys and it's too easy. We're back with another video today. We have another Epic History TV banger. You know, every time Epic History TV drops a banger, you know we gotta watch it. This is Belisarius Part 1, The Emperor's Sword. I'm assuming this is, by the thumbnail, I'm assuming this is ancient Roman times, you know, but thank you again for support. Thanks to everybody for your support. Check out my link down in the description to my football channel. Just dropped a new video over there today. We're going to be more consistent over there, so definitely just thank you. Stay tuned for everything I need. I'm going to drop some more episodes. I'm going to drop 2 more episodes of In-Betweeners on Daily Motion for those who cannot watch it because it's blocked in your country. Without further ado, let's just get it, man.
(532 AD). Constantinople, the greatest city in the world, is in flames. But this is no barbarian attack. Citizens of the Eastern Roman Empire are rioting, murdering state officials and setting buildings on fire. Trapped inside his own palace, Emperor Justinian fears his reign is over. He's already given in to the mob's demands and sacked his most hated officials. But now the crowds acclaim a new emperor, Hypatius. It's his wife, Empress Theodora, who'll give him the courage to act, and his most trusted general, Belisarius, to whom he'll turn to crush his enemies and save the regime. After centuries of imperial crisis, Justinian's reign will witness a Roman fightback that few had dreamed possible. Great victories over the barbarians, the reconquest of Rome itself, the reunification of the empire. Belisarius is the commander who will lead this onslaught. He will be remembered as Rome's last great general.
I like this build-up, the little opera music. I like the build-up.
Math and science are not subjects we talk about enough on Epic History TV, unless we're calculating casualties or describing the first mission to the moon. For historians especially, math can seem a strange and scary place, but our sponsor, Brilliant, offers the ideal way to get to grips with the fundamentals of math, science, and computer science. Their website features more than 60 courses. All feature clear explanations and interactive problem solving to help you understand something large and wondrous. Take this lesson from Brilliant's Geometry Fundamentals course, for example. Many people know that the area of a circle is pi r squared, but do you know why? It turns out if you slice up a circle into little pieces and then arrange them like so, you get something that resembles a rectangle, and from that you get the area of the circle. With patience, you'll even understand.
See, you're going to have to miss me with this, man. This man, do not remind me of, no. Get that geometry and all that math away from me.
And how an ancient Greek used the shadow of an obelisk to work out the Earth's circumference. Visit brilliant.org/epichistory to sign up for free. The first 200 will also be offered 20% off an annual premium subscription. Thanks again to Brilliant for sponsoring this video. (527 AD). It's more than 50 years since the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Rome itself, the eternal city, is now part of an Ostrogothic kingdom of Italy. But though Rome may have fallen, the empire endures. The Eastern Roman Empire remains a force to be reckoned with. An estimated 30 million people live under the rule of the emperor in Constantinople. His authority stretches from the ravaged Balkans to the imperial breadbasket, Egypt, the Arabian desert to the mountains of Armenia. This Christian empire remains unrivaled in administrative sophistication, economic power, and military might. But the new emperor, Justinian, faces formidable challenges. In 527, he succeeds Justin, his uncle and adopted father,
Bruh. Do y'all have any type? I guess they didn't have any type of like creativity when it came to the names. They was like, you know what? Your uncle's called Justin. You know, it was his father. Oh my God, my memory sucks. Hold on.
527, he succeeds Justin, his uncle.
His uncle. Okay, so his uncle named Justin. And you know what? We're gonna call him Justinian. I don't know. It's just like looking at, like I said before, all the names of all the people in this ancient Roman Empire. Like the names are awesome. Like I don't know if you would name your kids that today, but like a name like Maximus, that name is fire. I can't lie. A name like Maximus, or a name like Julius. I mean, Julius is a newer name, but those names are freaking fire. I can't lie.
And adopted father, becoming the first son to succeed his father as emperor in more than a century.
Wait. His uncle and adopted His uncle adopted him as his son. I was like, his uncle and father. I'm like, how?
Justinian is from a tough peasant background in Thrace, what's now Serbia. He's highly educated, restless and driven, and sets himself two ambitious goals. First, to restore harmony in the Christian Church by ending the schism between Chalcedonian or Orthodox Christians and Miaphysites, who argue over Christ's human and divine nature. Second, to reform and rationalize Roman law, the divinely sanctioned institution that distinguishes the Roman world from the barbarian. The imperial majesty should not only be adorned with arms, but also be armed with laws, so that there may be good government in times both of war and peace, he later declares. But as for any Roman emperor, the ultimate test of his legitimacy will come in war. For now, Justinian has good relations with the Vandals in North Africa and the Ostrogoths in Italy. The Balkan frontier requires constant vigilance. The successors to Attila's Hun Empire are never quiet for long. But it's in the east that Justinian faces his most immediate challenge: the Persian Sassanid Empire, a rival superpower of the Middle East.
Always them Persians.
This frontier has been a battleground for centuries and witnessed its share of Roman defeats, including one emperor captured, another killed. For most of the last century, the shared menace of the Huns led to a wary coexistence. But it could not last. In 525, the Christian king of Iberia in the Caucasus appealed to the Romans for aid when the Persian king Kavad tried to impose Zoroastrian rituals on his country. The Romans send military aid, and the conflict escalates, with both sides launching cross-border raids. When the Romans begin building a new fort at Minduos, the Persians attack, rout the Roman troops, and destroy the building works. One of the Roman generals to escape this debacle is Flavius Belisarius.
See, like I said about the names, like Flavius, that's tough. I like that. Flavius Belisarius. That's a bar right there. Like somebody gonna spit that in a bar.
Clearly he is not blamed, because the next year Justinian makes him commander of all Roman troops in the east, though he's barely 30 years old. Belisarius and the emperor are old comrades and come from the same humble background in Thrace. He had served in Justinian's own regiment when he was still heir to the throne. His wife Antonina is the best friend of Empress Theodora, and like her, from a dubious background in the acting profession. With both Roman and Persian empires mobilizing for war, the next year, 530, will see Belisarius' first major test as a commander. The troops that Belisarius commands are far removed from the famous legions with which Rome conquered its empire centuries ago. Hard lessons learned from fighting Huns and Persians have helped to forge a new Roman army. For centuries, cavalry was the neglected arm of the Roman military, a role usually outsourced to foreign auxiliaries. Now, heavy armoured cavalry known as clibanarii and cataphracti, armed with lance and sword, form the army's elite shock units.
It wasn't horses. They used to have chariots. Like they would have they wouldn't have men on horses. They would have horses pulling chariots and men on those chariots with the long spears, the lances and stuff. I think I remember that from some of the older videos. So I guess you got to adapt with the times. You feel what I'm saying? So I like the adornments that the horses have though. I like all the armor that the horses have. That looks nice on those.
Some armoured cavalry, as well as cursores, light cavalry, also carry bows. The Romans, in imitation of the Huns and Persians, are now horse archers themselves. The best units are the Bucellarii, the biscuit eaters, named after the army ration. These hand-picked soldiers form a general's personal regiment. Long service, good pay and equipment.
See, I'm looking at what they have right now. So you telling me you're on a horse with a shield on your elbow, with a bow and arrow, with a 7-foot spear on your back. What? Like the amount of multitasking, coordination, dexterity that you have to have in order to balance yourself on a horse. You have the little mini shield on your arm. You got 20 pounds of armor on. You got a bow and arrow you got to shoot. And then you have this long 7-8 foot spear, a lance on your back, basically, that you have to kind of balance and make sure it's not flailing all over the place. Because you got to think that thing is, the point is probably heavy, so it's top heavy, so it's leaning forward. You got to kind of balance it on your back. That's crazy. Just think of all the multitasking you got to do to be able to do that. That's why salute to them, because ain't no way in the world.
Plus a personal oath of loyalty make them his most reliable troops. Roman archers are now armed with the more powerful composite reflex bows of the Huns. And while infantry still made up around 2/3 of a Roman army, its role is more defensive, forming a secure base from which the cavalry could launch its attacks. The standard infantry unit is also smaller, called a numerus in Latin, arithmos in Greek, about regimental size, from 1,000 to 1,500 men. They're more mixed, with armoured veterans to form a fulcrum or shield wall, and more missile troops behind them to unleash a barrage of arrows, javelins and darts. Finally, Rome boosts its military strength by recruiting the very barbarians it had once despised, including Huns, Goths and Heruli. Those outside the empire are recruited as mercenaries. Those within serve as foederati, federates, and are usually commanded by their own officers. The military organization of the empire has also been overhauled. 2 central field armies stationed on either side of the Bosphorus are commanded by a magister militum presentalis and form a strategic reserve. Field armies based in Thrace, Illyria, Armenia and the East are each commanded by a magister militum and form regional rapid reaction forces. The frontiers are held by the limitani. These are the lowest paid and least well-equipped troops, only expected to hold their fortified outposts until reinforcements arrive. Limitani are organized into local groups, each commanded by a dux, origin of our word, duke. Yet the thought has many times occurred to me, how many and how great are the benefits which accrue to states through history, which transmits to future generations the memory of those who have gone before, and resists the steady effort of time to bury events in oblivion. The historian Procopius is our key witness for the events of this period. He was born around 500 in the city of Caesarea in Palestine and received a first-class education. In 527, he was appointed assessor or legal advisor to Belisarius. He effectively became the general's secretary and, on occasion, aide-de-camp. Working from notes and writing in Greek, he would publish his great work, History of the Wars, in 551. Procopius's account is highly favorable to Belisarius, but there will be a sting in the tale, a scandalous secret history, which will emerge later in the tale.
Okay. I mean, it would make sense if he was around him all the time. You gotta have all the dirt. If you're literally the advisor and secretary, you're probably right on his hip. Like if you're his right-hand man, to be honest.
530 AD. King Kavad sends an army to capture the Roman frontier fortress at Dara. Today, the ruins of Dara lie on the Turkish-Syrian border, their scale hinting at the size of the Roman fortress that once stood here. Belisarius is warned that 40,000 Persian troops are advancing on Dara. He can only assemble 25,000 troops to meet them. For reasons that are unclear, Belisarius decides to make his stand outside the city walls to the south. His men dig ditches to strengthen their position, with both flanks thrown forward. The infantry is placed in the center, with cavalry on both flanks. Two groups of 600 Hun mercenaries are positioned between them in support. At the rear, he places his reserve, his own Bucellari. When the huge Persian army arrives before Dara, Belisarius is ready and waiting. The first day begins with a standoff. The two generals exchange letters. Belisarius urges Firuz to withdraw to allow time for further negotiations. Firuz tells the Roman to prepare his bath. He intends to be in Dara by nightfall. The Persians launch one probing attack against the Roman left wing, perhaps testing their defenses. The Persians are driven off, with 7 killed. When a young Persian warrior rides between the lines and challenges any Roman to face him in single combat, his offer is accepted by Andreas. Andreas has no military training, but he's a wrestling instructor of huge strength. Before the Persian knows what's happening, Andreas has knocked him off his horse with his lance, then dismounts to finish him off, like a sacrificial animal, in the words of Procopius. Andreas later kills a second Persian challenger, to Roman cheers and the dismay of the Persians.
That's with Andreas.
The next morning, Firuz receives 10,000 reinforcements, bringing his total strength to 50,000. With odds of 2 to 1 in his favor, he decides to attack. Firuz forms up his army with infantry and foot archers in the center, and his Persian heavy cavalry, the feared Savaran, on both wings. He also divides his army into 2 parts, a front line and a reserve line, so that fresh troops can be rotated into the fighting. He keeps a unit of immortals, the elite Persian heavy cavalry, as his personal reserve. But first, he waits. He knows the Romans usually eat in the morning and are growing hungry, while his own troops are accustomed to eating later in the day. Finally, at noon, he gives the order. The Persian army advances to within bowshot, and both armies unleash a storm of arrows. Persia is famed for the skill of its archers, but today the wind favors the Romans. When the archers run out of arrows, the Persian cavalry begins its advance. This is the moment Belisarius has prepared for. The Savaran crash into his left wing, driving the Roman horsemen back. But the Persians haven't spotted 300 Heruli horsemen hidden behind a slope on the Roman left, waiting for this moment. They rush out from cover and attack the Persian cavalry from behind.
Yo, he had them hidden. That's crazy. And I like how he didn't tell us about these in the beginning. I'm just thinking, like, when they come, aren't the horses like crashing into each other? Like, you know what I'm saying? I just thought about that. Like, if your horses and my horses are running at each other at full speed, they're going to crash into each other and probably hurt themselves. I'm just thinking about that. I'm just imagining seeing like horses collide.
Then 600 Huns fall on their flank. Under this onslaught, the Persian cavalry turns and flees, with heavy losses. Firuz switches to the other flank, attacking with his heavy cavalry, supported by the elite immortals. The Roman cavalry breaks under the pressure, streaming back to the walls of Dara. But Belisarius has seen the threat. He recalls the Huns that are pursuing the Persian right wing and launches both Hun groups, as well as his own Bukellari, against the flank and rear of the Persian attack. It's the decisive moment of the battle. The Persian left wing suddenly finds itself under attack from three sides. Those that can't escape are cut down. Sunikas, one of the Hun captains, kills a Persian standard-bearer, then General Barsham himself, who commands the Persian left wing. With the elite units of the Persian army in flight, the infantry offers little resistance. Most are peasant conscripts, no match for Roman cavalry.
I always thought about, like, during this time, like, I'm sure they're fighting in such close proximity. That's got to be freaking scary. When you're fighting so close to another person, you don't even know. You got to look all around you. There could be a dude behind you with a javelin ready to poke you right in the back of your neck. Yeah, you can accidentally swing your sword wrong and hit one of your fellow your fellow like soldiers. Like, I don't know, just seeing that mob of people, like, you can fall and get trampled by a horse. Like, it's so much that can happen. I've just thought about, like, the scene of what a battle would be like. I know this is like a video game, but like a real, like, at least depicted, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the movies depicted, like, they got all this space and this dude just cutting down like 30 people by himself. He just shoo. That's probably not how it went, but you know what I'm saying? I definitely would like to see if I can find like some type of like the most accurate historical depiction of a real like Roman battle, like before they had guns, like when it was just straight swords.
Soon the entire Persian army is en route. Belisarius, content with his victory and unwilling to risk any last-minute reverse, halts the pursuit. Procopius tells us 8,000 Persians lay dead on the battlefield, a number that could be accurate. For on that day, the Persians had been defeated in battle by the Romans, a thing which had not happened for a long time. Belisarius has won a brilliant victory for the empire. Later that year, Citas, Magister Militum of Armenia, wins another victory over the Persians at Satala. The war is swinging in Rome's favor. But the following year, encouraged by a Samaritan revolt in Palestine, King Kavad orders a large-scale raid along the Euphrates River. Belisarius assembles an army to meet them. But having ravaged Roman territory, the Persians are content to withdraw with their loot. Belisarius shadows them. His subordinates urge him to destroy the enemy before they escape. So, against his better judgment, he attacks the Persians on Easter Sunday at Callinicum. The battle is a disaster. Rome's Arab allies, the Hassanids, hold the right flank. But Procopius accuses them of fleeing at the first sign of danger. Persian cavalry rolls up the entire Roman line. In desperation, the Roman infantry form a shield wall with their backs to the river. They hold off the enemy cavalry, buying time for the remains of the army to escape across the river. Callinicum is a humiliation for Rome and for Belisarius. His own role in the battle is unclear. According to Procopius, he remained with the infantry.
That's not his fault, though, because the people above him were like, yo, you need to get them before they cross back into Persia. And of course he was like, you know what? Let's just let them get what they got. Let's just, we don't need another large-scale battle at this point, you know what I'm saying? But hey, what's he going to do? Say no to the people above him? Especially during this time where you could probably get your head chopped off for disrespecting any of those big leaders in the government and stuff. You would get your head chopped off.
Organizing the retreat. Another source claims he was among the first to flee. It had clearly been a serious blunder to give in to pressure from his subordinates to fight an unnecessary battle. Belisarius is removed from command and recalled to Constantinople. Justinian is forced to pay a subsidy and make a compromise peace with Persia. Not with King Kavad, who dies that year, but with his 20-year-old son, Khosrow. Khosrow will prove to be the greatest of all Sasanian kings, hailed as Anushirvan, the immortal soul, and will prove a dangerous rival to the Romans. When major rioting breaks out in Constantinople the next year, Belisarius is in the capital, eager to restore his tarnished reputation. The riots have been instigated by the factions of the Hippodrome, the Greens and Blues. These are more than chariot racing fans. The factions run whole areas of the city. At first, they seek only the release of jailed comrades. But then there are calls for a new emperor, Hypatius, nephew of Emperor Anastasius. It's likely that Justinian's rivals in the Senate are now pulling the strings. Justinian hesitates. He wonders if they should flee the capital. Then Theodora speaks up. Life as a fugitive, she declares, would be unendurable. Better the old saying, royal purple makes a noble shroud. In other words, better to go down fighting.
She a real one. Okay, Theodora, go crazy. Hey, she a real one. I like that. Let's go down fighting. We ain't gonna flee like no cowards. What do you think this is? Like, you're supposed to be the emperor of the Roman Empire and you out here fleeing? What's wrong with you? The all-powerful Roman Empire, and you're gonna flee.
The emperor is emboldened by Theodora's words and orders Belisarius and another general, Mundus, to crush the revolt. Belisarius's hardened troops launch a sudden attack on the rioters. There is no mercy. The streets run with blood. The final death toll is estimated at 30,000, a staggering 1 in 20 of the city's population. The next day, Justinian orders the execution of Hypatius and his brother, probably innocent pawns in somebody else's plot. Their bodies are tossed into the sea. Thanks to Theodora and Belisarius, Justinian's throne is safe, for now. A Roman emperor relied on one quality more than any other from his generals: loyalty. Belisarius has proved his beyond doubt. Now, Justinian needs to shore up support for his regime, assert his legitimacy and God's favor with a military victory. He has his costly peace with the Sassanid Empire, so he will turn west. A war to reclaim Rome's lost provinces from the barbarians will be a service to God and Justinian. Such a mission can be entrusted to only one man: Belisarius. Massive thanks to legendary...
But the thing is, you can't even blame Belisarius for like what happened against the Persians, because that wasn't his call. Like, that wasn't his call. That was the higher ups was like, yo, you need to beat them before they get across the border. But like, he didn't want to do it. But you could. You got a loyalty to the empire. I highly doubt that Justinian was part of that committee that told him he had to attack them. But yeah, this is exciting. I like watching like the history. History is always fun. But definitely thank you for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Also hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Don't forget to turn on my post notifications. Thank you again. Please be safe. Have a great day. Stay on the grind. I'm out. Peace.